Halo Episode 9. The season finale is finally done, and God willing, it'd be the series finale, and they'll back out of Season 2, but I'm pretty sure that's already on the way. It's pretty amazing that a show that disappoints you every single week, to the point where you keep lowering your expectations, can still manage to disappoint you every single week. It's almost impressive. Like, the show started off mediocre at best, and just was consistently worse as it went on. Alright, so let's get into this last episode. I'll just go ahead and say right now that Quan, Soren, Madrigal, none of them make an appearance in the final 2 episodes. Why was there so much screen time spent on these characters? If none of it was going to matter? Don't know. I don't think anyone liked those characters. None of their story was interesting. It was just filler. So you have a 9-episode season. Episode 7 is literally only Quan and Soren. And then 8 and 9, they just don't show up again. I mean, that is just horrendous, especially when they've tried to set Madrigal up as this important little colony all season. And they go far enough to mention this portal and whatever, and then they just don't go back to it. So, complete waste of time that entire part of the show was. Alright, so for this episode, we start with John and Kai waking up. Luckily, they both wake up before Vanek and Rizz, who want to kill them. Even though John wasn't wearing armor or a helmet, he still woke up first after the impact of the artifact. Whatever. Maki stole the artifact, and she shoots a couple Marines on the way out. Vanek has Kai at gunpoint. She literally loses her helmet between cuts here, just because the plot needs it, I guess. I mean, at this point, I can't even be bothered enough to be angry by the lack of attention to detail. It's just the standard for this show. Kai has her helmet on when she first wakes up, and then it's off when we come back to this scene. Whatever. John tells Vanek and Rizz the truth about Halsey and how they were all kidnapped and brainwashed, and he believes it because Keyes walks in and confirms all of it. And I kind of feel bad for the actor who plays Keyes because he was just so miscast in this role to begin with, and then what they did with his character was just shit. He actually seems like he'd be a decent actor if he had some material to work with. Far too late for that. John says that they need the artifact to win the war. Vanek gives in. I don't think this really makes sense when he still has his hormone pill in that makes them killing machines that just stay on mission. So Maki stole the Phantom that they were looking at last episode and just rolled out. I guess the keys were just in the ignition and it was just ready to go. And also, I guess, we're on the headquarters of where FleetCom is, and they don't have any patrols around the planet. They have someone escaping in a stolen Covenant ship, and no one chases her or tries to stop her. Fuck it. Kai goes after Halsey's ship, and she runs and jumps on her ship, and the CGI here is pretty cartoony. And we get some more completely paying zero attention to any fucking detail. So she shoots through one of the engines, which is like on the back and side of the ship, and then we cut, and she falls right into the middle of the ship. Like, the engine that she shoots is off to the side, but she comes in the middle of the ship. And how would she fit through this hole from firing a couple pistol rounds? And even if she could get through the hole, where the fuck is she going to go when the engine's right there? So none of this makes any sense. But fuck it, it's just the attitude of this show. Attention to detail should not be allowed on a single person's fucking resume who worked on this show. So Kai busts into the ship. I guess she just teleports and starts doing the what's my name yelling shit like she's fucking Heisenberg in Breaking Bad. And she does like the who am I bullshit. Super cringy. So she takes her helmet off for some reason, and then she gets hit in the back of the head with this huge wrench by Halsey's assistant. Not sure how it didn't knock her out when she was literally just knocked out twice in the last like half hour as far as the time of this show is concerned. And I'm not sure why she took her helmet off in a combat situation yet again. And did she not learn her lesson when she just got elbowed to the fucking face and got knocked out? But whatever. She turns around and throws him into the roof and kills him. Halsey runs away and gets an escape pod as the ship's crashing. And she's like the fastest 70-year-old lady ever, I guess. So we cut to the outside of the ship, and we can see that what she shot was the engine. So this confirms what I said earlier. When I just looked at it from the initial camera angle, when they cut back to it from the outside, it's exactly what I said. There's no hole in the roof in the middle. Literally just the engine is exploded. And then she flies like 50 feet into the wall when the engine blows up. But the assistant's dead body doesn't move until she walks back to the bridge and sees his dead body. So I guess he wasn't on screen, so physics just don't fucking apply. Oh, man. The ship crashes. She survives because Spartans are immortal. And we get one more nostalgia ripoff. They show Kai's hand coming up the cliff, and this is a ripoff from when John does it in the first game. When Cortana's like, pull up, pull up. You did that on purpose, didn't you? And that's clearly what they were going for with the shot and the way they cut it and filmed it and everything. And also, when John did it, he was in a Banshee. She was on the bridge of a pretty big ship. No clue how she survived. No clue how she would have jumped out. Whatever. Fuck it, I guess. So John is watching security footage of Maki. No clue why there's no one in pursuit of her, but whatever. And then John just goes full fucking retard. He says, zoom into the Aspero system. Parangoski says, how could you trust a single thing she told you? Why is Parangoski being nice to John now? She's hated him the entire season? Don't know. John says, she was honest with me. Like, hey, you stupid fuck. You had sex with her, and the next thing she said to you was goodbye, John, when she stole the artifact and killed some Marines. I mean, what the fuck? So John says it's a part of the covenant prophecy that the halo is meant to be where the stars sparkle like glass. That's a hint, I guess. Every star sparkles in space, so I don't know what the fuck that means. So we get some bullshit jargon about gravity and how from their point of view a planet would appear like fragments. And John says, or shards of glass. What? Parangoski agrees to send the Marines there based on what? No fucking idea. She says that John has been erratic, even though they've been listening to him the entire time. Probably the most accurate line of the show is calling him erratic, because his character is just whatever they fucking want it to be in the moment. He has no arc. He's completely inconsistent, and he's a complete fucking idiot the whole time. And then Parangoski says on the battlefield that John can't exist, only the Master Chief can. And this is such a stupid line of dialogue. Like, this makes him sound like he's some kind of schizophrenic. Like, he just goes into battle mode and is completely possessed by bloodlust and out of control. These are supposed to be highly disciplined, highly trained, special soldiers. So this kind of shit, like, they think it sounds cool, but it makes no fucking sense. I think that pretty much sums up this entire show, honestly. So Keyes apologizes to John, and John says there'll be a reckoning, but not today. Not sure how that's his decision, but whatever. The Spartans board the Pelican, and none of them have helmets on, even though they just left a combat situation to go into another combat situation. But, I guess the actors have it in their contracts to show their faces. So Halsey's running through the woods, away from the Marines. Again, fastest old lady ever. Keyes wants to talk to Miranda, but she blows him off. No clue why she's mad now. Like, she found out about the stuff with the Spartans a few episodes ago, and now she's pouting. No idea why. Maki is with the elites. The people who made the aliens in this show don't understand scale at all. The elites are like fucking 12 feet tall. I'm putting in a screenshot just so you can see how bad the CGI is. It looks like Mortal Kombat Annihilation or some shit. Atrocious. Honestly, I'd rather watch a movie done of just cutscenes by Blur Studios, who did the Halo 2 anniversary cutscenes, and that in a movie form would be better than this fucking show, by a long shot. So she's giving the artifacts to the prophets, and they bitch that she didn't kill the Master Chief, which they don't need to fucking kill him now that they had the artifacts, but whatever. We cut back to John. I forgot to mention, it's hilarious that him zooming in on a projection of the system is how they find this place. The zoom and enhance meme I thought was fucking dead, but I guess not. Cortana tells Chief that Halsey was going to give her control of his body once Halsey had the artifact. So again, she's completely pure evil, in case you forgot. Because it's been like 15 minutes of screen time for her and she hasn't been a total bitch. So we had to get that in there. Cortana jokes that she's waiting to take John over until his body's less beaten up. And this is like the first decent bit of banter we get between those two in the entire show. And it took 9 fucking episodes. So the ship hits turbulence flying into the system because of the gravity jargon we heard about earlier. And Kai yells fire in cabin 3. And she might not have to fucking yell if she had her helmet on, which has a microphone in it. So Cortana takes over the driving, Kai bangs her head with no helmet yet again. John has some kind of inexplicable awakening because Cortana disappears because of electronic interference or some shit, and John can just fly through this shit now. It's just space magic, I don't fucking know. We cut back to Maki, and the prophets are all saying that she's soiled their world, and they're talking shit about her, and they can't wait for her and all the humans to die when they go on the Great Journey. Weird, considering they kind of kiss her ass all season and give her what she wants. So now that she's successful, they're kind of being bitches to her. Don't really understand the dynamic there, or why they even felt the need to try to please her when they could literally just treat her as a prisoner and make her do what they fucking want. Alright, so the Spartans air jump from the Pelican. CGI is still not looking too great. And they don't show them decelerating with like jets in their armor or anything. They do make a little noise like 5 feet before they hit the ground. The implication here is kind of that they can just jump from however many miles down it is and survive. Not sure why the fuck they would put that in there like that, but that's what they did. The other Spartans think John wants to save Maki and not just grab the artifacts. I guess we're supposed to assume that he's pussy whipped now because he lost his virginity. Yeah, so they're all kind of taking digs at him for getting laid. They combine the artifacts, and Maki and Chief start having seizures. The prophets say unleash the zealots. And I know that there are zealot elites in the game, but I think it's kind of weird that the prophets would refer to their own followers as zealots. Like, I always took it as more of a nickname that the humans gave so they could differentiate between the other types of elites. I guess it's not really a huge deal at this point. So the elites show up by the hundreds and in waves like it's a video game. No clue why they weren't there to begin with. The brutes come in, and Rizz goes after the chieftain, and she does something that makes no fucking sense where she runs up a column and jumps over him. No fucking idea why. So obviously she gets her ass beat because this is retarded. And again, the people who made the fucking brutes don't understand scale at all. And they must be 15 feet tall. So they're 3 times the size of Master Chief. So if he gets hit with a hammer or a weapon or anything, he should just be dead. And in the lore, they're more 8.5 to 9.5 feet tall-ish. I mean, there's some variation, but around 9 feet tall. In this, they made him 15 feet tall. To put that in perspective, if a 200-pound grown man fought a 60-pound person and hit them with a hammer, they would be fucking dead. And that's kind of what they did here because they thought it looked cool, I guess, but it makes no fucking sense. So none of this action makes any sense because they don't pay attention to basic shit, like the size of the characters, something you can find out with a fucking 15-second Google search. So Chief blocks a gravity hammer swing with his rifle. And again, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. This makes no fucking sense with how big they are. Because then he has his rifle up and he's holding it sideways, and he shoots one of the other brutes with 5 bullets, and it backs off. And then I guess they're just ignoring their own show, like in episode 5 when he unloaded on one and it didn't even flinch. So John gets knocked all over the place by these brutes, but physics don't matter, so he's fine. And then out of nowhere, one pistol shot kills some of these brutes. No fucking clue how. A brute chokeholds John and then hammers him in his chest when he's on the ground. Again, physics don't matter in this world, so he's fine. A headbutt from the brute hurts him, but a gravity hammer to his defenseless chest doesn't. Okay. So we get a new contender for worst line of the show here. Maki panics about John getting hurt, even though she literally just fucking betrayed him, and goes to the artifact, and John does this, no scream. It's fucking terrible. This entire scene, God, it just makes no sense, and it's so cringy. And the acting is atrocious. She activates the artifacts and they blow everyone away. I guess the artifacts can just do whatever you need them to in this show, because I still don't have any idea what their actual power is. And then John is cut into the halo for another hallucination. Luckily for the actor, his helmet came off in the hallucination for some reason. So he goes to Maki. In the real world, Kai grabs Rizz, who's hurt from her dumbass stunt earlier. Vanek gets shot. And John is literally just crouched in the middle of the battlefield and no one fucking shoots him. Okay. Maki, in the real world, orgasms, and John tells her in the hallucination to let go of the artifact, and then her chest starts bleeding and she dies. So she pretty much orgasmed herself to death on Halo. Wonderful. So Rizz gets hit with a plasma grenade and doesn't die. It sticks to her back and explodes and she doesn't die. I guess the writers don't understand the purpose of a grenade. Cortana says that John can't save both the artifacts and his team. He let his shield go down and says, find the Halo, win the war. So corny. I guess his low shields are just invincible in this, because he keeps getting shot when the shields are at the minimum, but they just stop going down. He says that he trusts Cortana to take his body over. Based on what? Who the fuck knows? He has no reason to believe that she can do more with his body than he can. The only thing she's ever done is shut him down. Make sense of that shit, I don't know. He gets hit in the chest with a hammer and flies 100 feet into the wall. But again, physics are just irrelevant in this world, so it's cool. The prophets say they need the demon to find the ring because Maki's dead. Still don't know how John's alive. We get one more line that they decided to take from our nostalgia, which in the book, it's a great line, which is when the game is over, the king and pawn go into the same box. Completely inappropriate for this fucking show and this scene. Don't know why they used it. Cortana takes him over, and everyone just kind of watches dramatically, Why is no one shooting him? Don't know. So right away, we get zombie Cortana Chief. The grunts run right up to him when he has no weapons. Very fortunate for him, because then he has 2 plasma pistols. And he dual wields them. Remember when Kai got shot like 100 times by the plasma pistols? The showrunners sure as fuck don't. A pelican shows up and saves him. Chief grabs the artifact and rolls out. And then they're on a pelican, and now Rizz is actually dying and wounded and stuff. But Cortana's zombie chief cauterizes the wound with a flamethrower, so she's good. And I guess the other Spartans care about each other's lives now, because they're all kind of upset. Don't know why. Pretty sure they still have their hormone pills in. We get some narration from Halsey, and they set up for a second season that I hope that they never fucking get, and they sure as hell don't deserve. They're flying to their next job, and Kai talks to zombie Cortana Chief, and she doesn't answer, and that's the end of this abomination. I know that this show got greenlit for 2 seasons before the first episode even came out, but man, I hope that Paramount backs out of it. And this show was so bad, nothing made sense at any point. The characters were retarded all season. The action scenes were dog shit, none of them made any sense. There's nothing redeeming about this show, which is amazing. If they had literally just pulled from one book, or even from a game, and just made it live action, maybe add some side characters in so you have some more humans in it that aren't just the stoic Master Chief, it would have been fine. At a minimum, at least the Halo fans would have liked it. I don't think anyone likes this show. I mean, I'm sure there are some people who do, but if you've never seen anything with Halo before, then it's just a dog shit sci-fi show. And if you actually are invested in Halo, it's just a slap in the face at every turn. So I'm not sure who this fucking thing was made for. If they were smart, they would just bail on this silver timeline shit, and then they would just start over with Contact Harvest or Fall of Reach. Anything early in the lore, they could just start with that, and they could get the normie audience that they're after invested. But this dog shit, no one cares. No one's going to be able to tell you anything about this show 6 months from now. I mean, you get 3 big action set pieces that are horrendous, and once you look past the shiny nostalgia of them, they make no sense. You get the entire Soren, Quan, Madrigal side story that amounts to nothing. She kills a bad guy that no one really gives a fuck about anyway because he hardly even shows up. And he's like cartoonishly evil. Halsey, they stripped all the nuance out and just made her pure evil. Yeah, so I didn't like Quan's story at all. I thought she was annoying as shit. And her character arc was just throw a tantrum and get her way the entire season. But I still don't understand the decision to just cut her out completely of episodes 8 and 9 after you gave her an entire episode in episode 7. Like, it makes no sense to me. And she probably got a third of the screen time for the season was dedicated to her story. And then the third to last episode is 100% her, but none of it means anything for the bigger story. I mean, every decision that they made was just fucking bad. Like, this hormone pill that controls them is just stupid. That's why in the books, they're just brainwashed, but they still have their memories and stuff, but they're human. They've just been indoctrinated to fight. And then they kind of struggle with this internally, which makes a lot more fucking sense and is a lot more interesting than, oh yeah, we shoved a hormone pill in their back that I guess just floats around because John and Kai cut it out with no issue, and it makes them killing machines. Oh yeah, and then we made AI who can take over their bodies and kill better than they can. I don't know if none of these decisions were thought out. I don't know if they thought they sounded cool. I don't understand any of it, but none of it worked. Maki was a completely fucking useless villain. Like, what did she do? She showed up, killed a ship full of people, dropped into humanity's space as a gift, was a hostage or prisoner for 4 episodes, stole the artifact at the very end of the second to last episode, and then fucking died. None of the main characters had an arc that made any sense. None of them were likable. Fuck this show. I hope it's done. They should just give up on it, but I doubt they will, because that's just what Hollywood does. I think the next thing that I might cover on a weekly basis will be the Obi-Wan show, because I am a pretty big Star Wars fan, and I am not optimistic about that show, just given the current products from Star Wars. I mean, the best thing that Disney has done was probably Rogue One. I'm curious to see how they destroy Obi-Wan. made Han a deadbeat dad, made Luke a wannabe nephew killer. I'm not going to keep going on a tangent about Star Wars, but that'll probably be the next thing I cover. Maybe I'll start talking about some old movies that I actually like, so I'm not stuck on only doing negative shit. But I don't know. I also like light novels and manga and shit, so I'll probably just try to mix it up with stuff that I'm interested in. But what I will say is I think Halo is on death's doorstep as a franchise. I mean, between the gap between Halo 5 and Infinite, this show, Halo is really on life support right now. But, okay, see ya.